Hey, what's up, guys? We got some Tuesday football to discuss, and then one day off and right back at it. And then Friday, the NBA preseason starts. So I wanted to bring up a couple of things for people out there. One, first and foremost, the NBA preseason's a little tricky. Now, it might be different this year because, from my understanding, it's a little shorter than normal, and maybe guys need to get into better shape and stuff like that. But usually, the issue with the NBA preseason is knowing who's playing that night and who isn't. And DraftKings is not. It's hard to get your information from it, especially earlier in the day. So I'm taking any and all suggestions as far as like who you can follow on Twitter or anything like that to get good information. If you got any recommendations, throw it down there. And then we'll do our best to dissect these slates for you because, man, we're just excited as hell to have daily sports back.
No doubt about it.
So that's that. We haven't exactly hammered out how we're going to cover it. There'll be a lot of information for the public for you guys, and then there'll probably be a little extra information for paying customers. Speaking of paying customers, you see the PayPal address and the Venmo address below. We got 2 spots left at the $60 tier. I'd like to get rid of those today so that we can get it up on the website at the newer price. But the next 2 people to buy it, it's yours. $60, that's half price what it will be.
And I'm excited about that preseason NBA because we've talked about that it seems like since quarantine started, like we were going to get after that because not many people cover it. We made a video on it last year, a couple of years ago. It got a ton of views. So I'm hyped to make that with you.
We'll do our best, but it's not the same as regular season or playoffs. Like you do need a little better information. Again, it might be a little different this year because preseason's different, but I'll take all recommendations for NBA. Also today for the public video for everybody watching, we're going to do it more like a members only video. We'll do the one video for today. It's kind of a random day, so we'll just toss it out there. And if you'd like more NFL information, it's $49 for the rest of the year for the NFL only package.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that the NFL's had obviously a lot of games during the week this year. Do you think that's going to be something that they're going to kind of implement going forward in future years or no?
I don't think so. I think they'd have trouble getting that by the Players Association. The players don't hate this.
Yeah, I agree.
So they don't hold a lot of power, but I feel like this is one where the owners probably would have loved this years ago, but they struggle to get this one by.
For sure.
All right, so by my last check, the Ravens are about 8.5-point favorites in this game. How do you think this game plays out? Since we're doing this thing lately where we tell ourselves a story about how the game plays out, what's your story today?
Man, Baltimore needs this game badly. Badly. Especially because Browns and Ravens play next Monday night. Ravens need this game. I expect them to win this game.
So do I.
I like Lamar Jackson. I think that we can go right back there. The time off might have helped him. I like Baltimore in this spot. I like a lot of
Jackson's my captain, no question about it.
Yeah, I like a lot of Baltimore, not so much of Dallas.
Okay, I'm with you. Oftentimes, Dallas essentially had a bye week because they played on Thanksgiving and then they haven't played in 12 days. And when you give good coaches a bye week, they're usually really good. But the Dallas coach is Mike McCarthy, so that's not a thing here.
It's true.
He's a moron. I think most people know that at this point. He's just not a great NFL coach. Not saying that he doesn't have his moments, but that for me, it's not a thing that Dallas had 12 days off because they don't have Andy Reid. They don't have Bill Belichick. They don't have anything like that.
No, not even close. I'm with you, man. It sounds like we like this slate. We see this slate very similarly. I mean, I've actually messed around and made a couple builds, like Lamar at captain, no Andrews, no Willie Snead. Like, give me Marquise Brown.
Hey, man, I got one for you, and I'm not a narrative guy at all, but I like Des Bryant today.
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
Especially because I do think, I don't think the Ravens roll because I don't think they're good enough to just roll on people, but I do think they win. It's an 8.5-point spread, and I think that's about right. Like you said, no Willie Snead, so Des is going to be on the field. And he was trash last time out. I know we talked about him, but they didn't throw the ball with any version of success. So everybody outside of one broken play at the end of the game to Marquise Brown was pretty trash.
Agreed. I'm all about it.
Okay. All right. What is your thoughts on Zeke? Any desire to play him at 10-2?
No.
Me either.
Zach Martin hurt doesn't help his cause. Yeah, I'm going to play a lot of Baltimore here. I still like Marquise Brown, even with the Des Bryant call.
Yeah, and that's fine because I'm kind of with you. I don't expect Dallas to put up a ton of points, and what I do like about him, I like via the passing game. So I don't think I need to load up on them.
My favorite piece of Dallas, and really the only guy I'm interested in using is Lamb.
CD Lamb. He's good. I'm a fan of his. If you wanted to go Cooper, I can get on board with that too, but that's a lot of money to put on a Cowboys guy you don't have a ton of faith in today.
On the road, Baltimore secondary is good. Like, no thanks on that.
I wasn't even thinking about the road thing with Amari Cooper, but we have seen in many, many seasons before that he has not been the same guy away from Texas.
Yeah, that's not for me. Lamb is going to be the Dallas guy I use. And again, I also like Dobbins.
Sure. And you want to know what? If you want a cheap Dallas guy, you can give me some Tony Pollard because I kind of assume they're playing from behind.
Yep, I can get on board with that.
He's cheap.
I like Dez more, though.
I agree. I think Dez gets a couple catches, and I do think that in the event that Baltimore has a fairly comfortable lead, they might make a concerted effort to get him in the end zone. If the opportunity rises, they won't force the issue, but at $1,000, he's so low risk already.
Definitely. And I'm with you. And it brings me back. I know a lot of times we go back and forth on the narrative stuff, but in one of the Aaron Rodgers interviews, a couple of weeks ago on Pat McAfee, and he's on today. So happy. I just reminded myself. He was talking about Mercedes Lewis in that game against Jacksonville. And he was like, man, he was pissed that he didn't get Mercedes won that game. And he got him one the next game. And he mentioned it. So you're right. They're not going to game plan all week on how to score to get Dez a touchdown. But they all know, you know what I mean? It's Dez Bryant. They know.
Yeah. If the opportunity arises, they don't hate the idea. Now, also Lamar's not Aaron Rodgers, so he can't have as much control down in the goal line, but I'm not spending $10K on him thinking this is the thing. We already like him because he's $1,000 and there's no Willie Snead. The narrative can't hurt in this situation. It's not like we're spending 10-2 on Zeke because, once when he was a kid, he went to Baltimore.
And last we saw Dez Bryant with Lamar Jackson, they were connecting a bunch on that last drive against Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, there was no shame in him not being good last week because, like I said, other than one play, the passing game of Baltimore was not a thing.
I mean, Robert Griffin is bad. You could say what you want about Lamar Jackson not being able to throw that well. I can say what I want, but Robert Griffin is bad.
All right, so just kind of retouching on the Dallas guys. You like CeeDee Lamb. He's one of the guys I'm considering. I think Pollard at very, very low money, depending on how big you want to go on the Baltimore expensive guys. He's definitely in play. And then also, I don't hate Andy Dalton because I'm kind of assuming that they're going to have to throw it a little bit. I don't think I prioritize him. I'm not trying to play him sneaky in the captain or anything like that. But let's say you like Dez or you like Luke Wilson as the starting tight end today, for example, and you have pay down guys. If you wanted to go up to Andy Dalton, there is at least a nice base level of points there.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Baltimore gives him the business here. I mean, yeah, he's a quarterback, so I'll give you that. But for me, the reason I'm not looking at Pollard too hard is Baltimore has no expensive guys. Lamar Jackson's it. The next three expensive guys are all Dallas, or Dobbins is the next expensive guy. It's not hard to fit them at all.
Dobbins is expensive, but he definitely looks to be the guy here now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like the Baltimore D too. Baltimore D, Dez. I mean, those are two guys I'd be looking to fit in. And then I'd have probably enough money for even Cooper, Lamb over Cooper.
So I was saying, if you liked Andy Dalton just over CeeDee Lamb, I got Dez, Ravens D, Marquise Brown, Dobbins, and Jackson, and then Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense in cash games. In tournaments, I think Lamb outscores Dalton.
I have no problems playing CeeDee Lamb. I like him. He's an emerging stud. We got some nice crop of young wide receivers this year, and he is definitely one of them.
I mean, Dalton doesn't really – I don't see him having much success running here unless it's just a straight-up broken play. And he definitely has a higher floor than Lamb just on a game-by-game basis. But, it's not crazy at all to think that Lamb outscores him here.
No, not at all. And that's definitely a predicament when you play these showdowns overall, is that sometimes receivers, if we talk about when you analyze a Packers game, Devontae outscores Aaron Rodgers a lot. But if I needed 20 points to save my life, I still feel a little better about Aaron Rodgers most
times. Yeah, it's PPR. Receivers ultimately have higher upside than quarterbacks, but just lower floors.
Definitely. If you're looking for a couple other just random calls, Duvernay, I mean, I don't hate it at $800. I kind of like Dez a little bit better today, but not by leaps and bounds. Duvernay's an explosive young man. You know, he's got 8 targets over the last 3 games. There's no Willie Snead. Potentially can get you in the kicking game as well. I'm not saying jump in with 2 feet right here, but if you're one of those multi-lineup type of fellas, like play some Duvernay, play some Dez Bryant, and then if you want to toss in, Luke Wilson at 1,800 and some Tony Pollard at 2,600, whatever it is, like there's a lot of cheap guys on this one. And to hit up the point that you addressed earlier, like there ain't a lot of expensive guys either. Like Lamar Jackson's going to be insane a number of captain, I'd have to imagine.
I agree. But he's by far the best player on the slate. So I don't even think it's close. And the thing about Dez and Duvernay for me is I do like Dez slightly more because I think Dez is likely to catch, a few balls here. But if one of these guys breaks like a 70-yard touchdown, it's definitely Duvernay. I mean, that's not
right.
Even...
Unless Dez's cornerback like falls over, I don't see him as this major big play threat. The big plays would be going to Marquise Brown and Duvernay. Again, crazier things have happened, but I wouldn't bet any money on Dez breaking a 70-yard touchdown today.
Same. Duvernay also returns punts and kicks. So if you want to double dip there in Showdown, yeah.
So the double dip that he's referring to, just for those of you guys who maybe don't think about it, is the Ravens defense and Duvernay were to return a kick, you'd be double dipping on the points there. You get 12 for the touchdown there.
I think that when you first brought that up to me, it was honestly on a main slate because I don't even think they had Showdowns yet, and it was like really out there. On Showdowns, it makes more sense.
Sure. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can really change the game for you. And Duvernay Ravens defense is going to be combined in what, maybe 1-2% of lineups?
Yeah, especially because you just don't need the salary for Duvernay here. I just can't imagine many people are trying to load up on Dallas here. Although maybe the fact that you can so easily get them makes them higher owned. I don't think they have much success here at all.
I'm not interested in Zeke, but he's still going to get what, 25, 30, 35% ownership probably because you can afford him.
I think more than that. I'm not sure, but I think maybe more than that.
DFS is harder than just looking at a person's game log. But after Dak and with all the injuries to the offensive line, since week 6, take away the game against Arizona, he's got 4 single-digit performances. And it's just I just don't expect a lot out of him today. I'd rather play Andy Dalton than Zeke.
Lamar's coming in at 85% owned. Dalton's projected for 55, and then Zeke's third at 50.
Okay. I believe firmly Lamar Jackson will be especially in cash games, 98% owned, and probably, I would say, damn near 50% just in the captain spot.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think more is the point is that Zeke is going to get love.
Mm-hmm. I'm not that interested. I'm with you. I don't have that much interest in him. I'll take Dalton over Zeke today.
Same. I kind of feel similar like I did yesterday with Logan Thomas and McKissick, who are the 2 guys I liked a lot, who ended up being the highest scoring guys on Washington. I'm calling that out today with Lamb and Gallup. Gallup's my other favorite cheap Dallas wideout because I think they're down and just throwing in this game.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. They're 8.5-point dogs for a reason. Dallas has played better a little bit from time to time lately. Obviously, they won the game in Minnesota. They were trash against Washington, so don't take anything out of that. But they played Pittsburgh, competitive. Could have easily won that game. So they show signs occasionally. And Baltimore hasn't been great, but there's so much more for Baltimore to play for here, in my opinion. At home, Lamar seems very motivated. I struggle to see Dallas in a situation where they're not throwing heavy.
Struggle to see. Same. Definitely same.
Yeah. Bring up is Mark Ingram just not a thing anymore? Because that's the way I look at it.
I look at it that way too. Man, I will say 1 week of watching Robert Griffin definitely makes me appreciate Lamar Jackson even more. And I'm a Lamar Jackson hater, but this team is a playoff team with Lamar Jackson and not good team at all with Robert Griffin.
Here's a question for you. Gus Edwards or Mark Ingram?
Mark Ingram, but it's close.
Gus Edwards has more touchdowns this year, which is kind of weird to think about.
It is.
How old is Ingram? He's got to be, what, 29, 30?
I'm going to say 29.
30. It's very
About to
similar. What's that?
About to turn 31 in like 2 weeks.
Say very similar like the Rams with Cam Akers. It definitely seems like, Dobbins, it's his job now. There's a reason he's much more expensive than these other guys.
I definitely want Dobbins.
I agree with you. He's talented. He gets a little work in the receiving game. Not major amounts, but enough that's the guy that you want right there. And Baltimore's a better team if he kind of hits his peak this season, kind of going into, hopefully for them, what they think is going to be a playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about Justin Tucker, but, for your money, I know you think he's the greatest kicker to ever walk the face of the earth. He's phenomenal. He can kick long field goals. I don't think you need it today, but I think he's a pretty good play for, at least a 7-point baseline.
How much success offensively do you think Baltimore has here?
I kind of picture Baltimore winning this game like 27-17.
I could see using Tucker here because, they'll kick him. They'll obviously let him kick long field goals. And, it's not like Baltimore's offense is prolific. Lamar Jackson helps them, but, they get, stuck in limbo a lot. So I like Tucker here. Who do you like more between Tucker and Gallup? Surprisingly enough, averaging the same amount of points per game. That's wild.
Well, I mean, in a cash game, I like Tucker.
Sure.
If you're looking for somebody who might give you 25, I mean, that's going to be Michael Gallup, right?
Yeah, it definitely is because Tucker can't catch touchdowns. But, oh, man, it's still really close for me even in tournaments because,
tell yourself a story. What do you need in your lineup, right?
Exactly. Precisely.
I hate GPPs for showdowns because I feel like even if you get to the top, you're splitting with everybody. So I don't play on a main slate. My cash to GPP ratio is usually 2-1 cash to GPP. On showdowns, it literally is 25-1.
Yeah, I get that. Makes sense. I know you've been playing cash showdowns for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, you have to, again, tell yourself a story about what you need and how you play these. I was thinking about this the other day because I was talking to somebody, and they're like, I never win big money at football. Well, you know what? If you're playing for 5 $3 GPPs that are all with 200,000 entries, you're just not going to win big money almost ever. It's possible, but you're playing up against multi-entry optimizers with guys with much bigger bankrolls playing every combination of lineups. The pure probability of you getting a top 10 finish in a 100,000 person contest, it's really, really small.
Yeah, I tell people when they ask me this, and again, I enter, if I play a 3-entry max, a lot of times I enter those lineups in the $20 millionaire maker. But that's not the only place I'm entering those lineups. I enter those for shits and giggles, hoping that one time, I have the nuts. But I tell people, and this is what I do, you really should only play a tournament if you can enter it as many times as the max entries are. You know what I mean? So if you want to play a 3-entry max tournament, but you can only enter it once, you should play a single entry.
Sure. If you want to do 10 lineups in a 20-entry max, I don't think you're crazy, but I pretty much follow the same rules. If I can't max enter it, I don't want to do it.
Listen, it's better than entering a 10 entries into a 150 max lineup. You don't have to do it all the time. Sometimes I'll enter 2 lineups in a max 3, but you get the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in general, if you're putting 2 lineups into a 150 entry max and expecting you're going to nut it up and you're the one that's going to win, anything's possible. Again, I used to work with a girl whose boyfriend won the Millionaire Maker based off of just complete and utter luck, and he even knows it. But you want to know what? That's not the likely scenario. That is a very unlikely scenario. You can win the Powerball, but you're probably not going to.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I always joke around, my doorbell could ring right now, and Mila Kunis could be at my front door saying, hey, I got soaking wet. Can you help me change my clothes? But that's probably not the likely scenario of how this day is going to play out.
It's so funny. Hold on. You said you always have said Mila Kunis, whenever you would say an example like that for years, since I've known you, you would always say it. I always thought, and I think about this, I've always thought you've said Mina Kimes.
I don't even know who that is.
From ESPN?
Oh, No idea.
I always thought that's who you've been saying. So, yeah, wow.
Man, I hardly ever watch ESPN anymore. I'll catch the occasional first take clip on YouTube, and then I'll throw on fantasy football now in the background on Sunday mornings just to kind of hear their inactive stuff. And
She's
honestly,
like
I'll give it
big on like NFL Live and Twitter and stuff. She's like one of the faces of ESPN now.
Gotcha. Hold on a second. You can come back down in 5-10 minutes. All right, just get up. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. I got kids trying to get lunch and stuff like that. Okay, off topic for a minute. We have a tendency to do that. We seem to be in full agreement that, like, yes, it's going to be chalky, but you have 5 other positions to differentiate. Lamar Jackson's my captain, and I won't change that. If I ran 3 lineups, I'd do it 3 times.
It makes a lot of sense, man. The only other guy that I'd consider is Dobbins, to be honest.
Sure, I can understand that. Dallas's defense has played a little bit better as the season progressed, but they're not good. It's not crazy at all to think that, he breaks a long touchdown, then breaks another one from the 10 later in the game and could score 25 points in this one.
But again, if I'm like making one optimal cash lineup or whatever, obviously it's Lamar captain. It's not even close.
Yes. You have a lot of other spots to differentiate yourself. And again, Marquise Brown's too expensive, but you have extra money right here. So if you want to overspend on him, do your thing. There is no Mark Andrews today. He might have to be a little bit more heavily utilized.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, if you got Lamar, Dobbins, and Brown, you now have the focal points of the offense for Baltimore, whose offense is just flat out in a better position today.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So for you, you like CeeDee Lamb. Okay, you put CeeDee Lamb in there. It does put you right now in a weird spot for how you want to build the rest of your lineup because you don't have anybody expensive you like right here.
No, I don't. But, like, I don't mind leaving money on the table. So I could go, like, Ravens D, Dez, something like that,
Ravens D, Tucker.
Yeah. To make one lineup with Tucker, one with Gallup, one with Dez.
I gotcha. For me, I probably will start with the Baltimore stack. I have more faith in them scoring today. And again, I don't love anybody on Dallas today. I might play Andy Dalton for the baseline of points. We kind of played around with that lineup a little bit earlier. It's pretty easy to do this. I don't love the Ravens defense, but they're certainly in play today. That is a beat-up offensive line. They've been struggling lately, but they've been struggling against better teams. Pittsburgh, as much as I made fun of them earlier today when we were talking, they're still a decent football team. Tennessee is a good football team. New England is a very well-coached football team. They did well that night. Indy is a good football team. Pittsburgh's a good football team. Philadelphia ain't. And they were healthier back then, but against lesser football teams, they were getting points.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's still, like, the second best team in the AFC, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably. I just wouldn't be surprised to see them lose to Buffalo or, hell, even Miami.
Cleveland,
sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if we get Baker Mayfield like he played against Tennessee, we can beat anyone.
Cleveland's got some situations that they can excel in. There are certain matchups to play real well. They, even against Pittsburgh, like their pass rush isn't the same this time of the year because they've lost a lot of guys. So, definitely I give them a chance.
Like, that doesn't mean they will beat anyone, but I think you'll agree with that. Like, they could beat anyone if Baker plays like that.
Definitely. And then I think the other thing this weekend did, maybe people they were daring Baker to beat them. He said, "Okay,
yeah,
let's do that."
Baker, and I've been hard on Baker. Cocky, too cocky, wasn't good enough. But that doesn't mean guys can't grow. And maybe he's taken that and grown from it. I'm not saying that he's a superstar now based off one game, but you can't most guys can't just, roll out of bed and throw 4 first half touchdowns. You know what I mean? That was a really impressive game.
Yes, you can absolutely grow throughout your career. I think Aaron Rodgers, who's I think just turned 38, he's my boy. I know there's a lot of people that like the growth they're seeing in his leadership this year. He's almost retired.
For sure. And I know a couple people have mentioned comparing Baker Mayfield to Ryan Tannehill, who obviously was not good at all in Miami. I mean, he had a couple good years, but was more or less a bust. Came to Tennessee as the backup to Mariota and then has really, transformed his entire career. And the other guy is Drew Brees, who I'm not sure I really agree with that because I think people forget how good Brees was before New Orleans, but he's certainly taken a big step in his career in New Orleans.
Yeah. Watching Sean Payton go 8-0 without him the last 2 years, is there any part of you that's like, how much of it's Brees and how much of it's Payton? Like, you can't change the fact that Drew Brees' accuracy is like potentially the greatest of all time, but does it take away how much credit you give to Brees at all for his career?
No.
Okay.
And I still think that a lot of it has to do with Peyton, but I give Brees like different type of credit. Like, I think that they both mesh well together. I also think Brees is like a tremendous leader, guy that teams got behind, that teams want to play for him. I get your point. I'm not saying it's wrong at all. I think Peyton has a lot to do with it. I think Brees has a lot to do with it. I think it's shared.
I'll bring it back up this point. Tom Brady's success, a lot of it is predicated on Bill Belichick. Drew Brees' success, a lot of it is predicated on Sean Payton. But coaching matters a lot. Look at the difference of how Aaron Rodgers looks this year.
For the Browns.
Right? Like year 2 under Matt LaFleur versus what you saw with Mike McCarthy's complete lack of innovation. Why does Rodgers look good? Because there's flow. There's reasons that they're doing what they're doing. Yeah, he doesn't have as much talent on the wide receiver position as he did when he was younger. But like guys are open. LaFleur schemes guys open, which makes life very, very easy for Aaron Rodgers, which is a big part of why he looks like a brand new guy this year. Coaching makes a big difference. Most successful quarterbacks in their career had a good coach behind them.
Yeah, I mean, so there are quarterbacks that could play for any coach. I've heard Max talk about this. Like, Mahomes would be amazing for anyone. Reed had just made him like Super Bowl MVP, best ever level. Rodgers would be, he's Aaron Rodgers. Deshaun Watson, I mean, he strived with Bill O'Brien. But other guys aren't like that, like Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, guys that aren't necessarily, the best of the best. And going back to your Brees versus Sean Payton question, because I like that, like, I agree with you. I don't think Brees wins without Sean Payton. But I also think, like, the single biggest thing for New Orleans, like, in their franchise history was Brees coming there. And they don't win if he doesn't come there, So it's almost like you have to have both.
Definitely. And, coach makes a big difference in the NFL, but you do need that coach on the field to kind of be an extension of it. But greatness comes from them working well together. What Belichick has done this year with almost nothing in New England, kind of impressive. Like, they're a Cam 1-yard sneak and a fumble away from being, right there in the playoff mix with nothing, right? No good running back. Well, I like Harris, but not great running backs. They had 150 guys opt out for COVID.
Their whole defense, they haven't had Julian Edelman. It's very impressive. And you talk about, like, they are not a team I'd want to play in the playoffs. I mean, they will lose because they're not as talented, but they're not going to be an easy out against anyone.
Tom Brady rolls down to Tampa, and I know some people like Bruce Arians, but he and Bill Belichick, it's not even close. And he hasn't adjusted the system to fit Tom Brady. Like, it's a whole new thing down there.
It's really funny how that goes back and forth, though. Like, a month ago, I remember having this conversation when Tampa was at, like, a high point and how good it looked on Brady and how we maybe had to start questioning Belichick a little bit. Like, ultimately, whatever happens in the playoffs will determine it. I agree with you, though. Like, Arians, he seems kind of hard-headed. I mean, and, like, it's Tom Brady, though. Like, who
Bruce Arians reminds me of right now is Mike McCarthy, in the sense that they're not making any adjustments. Look, I'm hard on Tom Brady. I think he's a fraudulent GOAT in the sense that he was in a great spot. But, I mean, I can't take it away from him, man. He's got more than a fistful of rings. He is as clutch and as cool as it comes in a 2-minute drive at the end of the game. I don't think anybody could be calmer and cooler and more collective than Tom Brady is at the end of it. And I almost kind of forget where I was going with it. But, like, Bruce Arians doesn't know how to use him. Like, he doesn't use him the right way. Like, Tom is not a sit in the pocket and throw it 50 yards down the field kind of fellow. Like, let him make quick decisions and get rid of the ball, and he could still be really, really good.
You look at this offense, like, it is loaded, especially with Gronk playing. Gronk looks good.
Still Gronk. Not the fast as he used to be, but he's still really, really big and really, really, he's actually a really smart football player, too. I know you don't look at Rob Gronkowski and think he's like the smartest football player, but he's a very intelligent football player, and he's huge, and he's still a good blocker.
Agreed. I 100% agree with that.
So, All right, guys, we got to bounce. Hopefully, we got a little off topic at the end, but this should give you an idea of what we're looking at for the showdown today. Don't forget to throw in some comments if you got any good follows on Twitter or anything like that for NBA stuff this preseason. We'll be putting out enough information that we should be able to play and have some fun.
Thanks, guys. Let's get it tonight.